salvation of souls. Alex is here. Maybe he wants to discuss the same conversation I've had with you 3 times already. Do you want to do that instead? It's Antonio's hangout. Whatever. Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. I'll mute my mic while I yawn.
Welcome, Alex.
Can I do the introduction, though? Can I do the introduction? Antonio, have you met Alex? Alex Malpass, Antonio Fletcher.
I don't think we've met, no.
Yeah, because I think Ant, he stepped away from the keyboard a little bit. I'm not too sure if he's there. If you are Ant, unmute yourself, but he may be away from the keyboard. So I'll definitely will introduce him. So
if you could get a little closer to your mic, Alex, so we can hear you better.
Sorry, yeah, I'm cooking at the same time, so forgive me if the volume's a bit short.
All right.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I've been listening to this series of conversations between you and Hogtie for a couple of days. And I'm not quite familiar with the presuppositional routine or argument or whatever perspective. I think you made a couple of mistakes the other day. I think maybe you didn't mean to say it, but you ended up saying that inductive inferences beg the question. And I don't think that can be sustained. I think that's wrong. So I mean, I don't mind. I don't want to hijack the conversation, of course.
No, what I was saying is when they're making an argument using inductive reasoning, the conclusion cannot be logically necessitated. That's what I said.
Deductively, an inductive argument isn't deductively valid. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't undermine induction.
No, what I'm saying is it doesn't make for a firm foundation for somebody to argue for the uniformity of nature based upon the consistency of their sense experience.
So just specifically, what are you saying, that if there was an argument where the conclusion of it was?
Well, when they're claiming that they can be rational, there have to be certain preconditions in order for them to be rational, right, Alex?
You can maybe. I mean, I guess that's one way of looking at it. But look, if I make an inductive inference, do you think that that's irrational by definition?
I don't believe, unless you start from that it is the case that the Christian God exists, that you have any basis for rationality.
Did you prove that that's true?
I don't think that anything can be proven unless it is the case that the Christian God exists and he has constructed the world in such a way that we can know some things that we can't be wrong about. Are you under the view, Alex, that something can be proven in your worldview where there is no God?
I think things can be proven. I'd like you to prove the claim that nothing can be proven unless the Christian God existed that you just said then. I'd like you to prove that.
Alex, can something be proven in a world where there is no God?
Well, if you're claiming that it can't be, I'd like you to just show me.
No, Alex, I asked you a question.
Well, let's say I'm open-minded about it.
Well, Alex, can something be proven in your worldview?
I believe so, but if you can correct me, go ahead.
What would that be, Alex?
Well, I mean, so when you do a logical proof, right, it means proceeding via rules of inference, right? So if you make a premise or a couple of premises, then you can prove that the conclusion follows if all you've done is apply various agreed upon rules of inference. That's what a proof means.
Alex, could you tell me something that you can prove that you can't be wrong about?
Okay, so let's say if P then Q is the first premise, P is the second premise, I prove that Q.
Alex, I'm not talking about in a theoretical realm. I'm talking about in the actual world. Is there something that can be actually proven? Could you give me an example?
Why was that not in the actual world, what I just said then?
No, you're giving me a modal representation. Explain to me something that can actually be proven, meaning that you can't be wrong about.
Look, the point that I just made then, if P then Q, P therefore Q, you can put anything you like in for P and Q, and that will be a proof.
Okay, show me something that can be proven where the conclusion where you can't be wrong about.
Okay, so if it's daytime, then the moon is made of green cheese. It's daytime. Hey, whoa! I just proved that the moon is made of green cheese, right? It follows from those two premises, right? That's how you prove something.
Would that be dependent that the physical world around us operates in a regular way, Alex?
No.
Really? So if all events are the product of chance and not some underlying uniformity or law-like conditions, you can have rationality and prove things?
Well, it's a strange premise. I mean, is everything chance? I don't know.
Alex, can something be proven by a rational means if all events, including brain states, are simply the product of chance and not an underlying uniformity of nature?
Let's say that every single event that happens in the universe follows one after another chaotically, with no order following them. Well, let's say that that's right. So that's our hypothesis, right? Would that mean that if P then Q, P therefore Q is invalid? I don't see that it does.
Alex, if all of your brain states are the product of pure chance and randomness and not an underlying regularity, then how would there be any rationality?
You seem to be asking a different question now, right? So if how would I know? That's what you're asking, right?
No, you're presupposing. Are you presupposing that your ability to reason about existence is predicated that nature operates in some regular way? If nature was not operating in a regular way, would you be able to reason?
So that inference that I just gave to you a moment ago doesn't seem...
Alex, I asked you the question. Is your ability to reason about things predicated on the idea that nature operates in a law-like way?
Okay, so it seems to me the answer is no. And the reason for that is that that inference I gave you a minute ago seems to be valid independently of whether any events are happening in an ordered way.
So you don't need the uniformity of nature in order to be a rational human being?
I don't need the uniformity of nature in order to... Well, let's put it like this. The validity of modus ponens that I just said to you doesn't depend on the uniformity of nature, no.
That you're not addressing my question, Alex.
Maybe the question's not clear to me then.
Alex, if the chemistry in your brain was simply absolutely erratic and did not operate in some law-like way, would you be able to have rational thought?
I don't know. Possibly not.
Okay, good. So you see, your claim to reasoning is contingent on the precondition of the regularity of nature. Does nature operate in a law-like way, Alex?
It seems to, but I don't think that my reasoning...
Well, let me ask you this question. It seems to. Well, how would you be able to visually differentiate whether the consistencies that you see are the product of a law-like environment versus chance?
I'm not even sure I understand what that question means.
Well, you said it seems to. You're appealing to your sense perception of certain consistencies, that those observations of those consistencies are indicative of nature that operates in some regular law-like way. Could chance produce the same type of consistencies, Alex?
Maybe it would help if we made it a bit more specific. So look, if I said, if I observe a regularity, I could be wrong about whether it's... So if I say every swan I've ever seen is white, therefore every swan is white, I could always be wrong about that, right? So
Alex, you're not answering my question. Alex, could chance produce the same number of consistencies that nature operating in law-like way?
Listen, I don't know, but I'm not an advocate that everything is pure chance. So I feel like you're making.
I didn't ask you if you were an advocate of it, Alex.
But it's not my view. I mean, is it your view?
You said, man.
But look, Doug, is it your view? Do you think it could happen?
It doesn't matter. You see, my asking you a question is not predicated on what I believe. I'm asking you, Alex. You're coming to the table as a skeptic, portending that you can reason and that you can prove things. And I asked you, is that all predicated that nature operates in a law-like way? And you basically answered yes.
No, I answered no. I said no quite explicitly.
Oh, so if nature, if everything is the product of chance and not a law-like environment, you could be rational?
So look, it's already a false dichotomy, right? It's not just a chance.
No, it's not a false dichotomy. I asked you a question, Alex, and you're being evasive.
I have a question for Alex once he's
okay.
done.
So, Alex, if every event, including your brain states, were not the product of regularity, but were simply the product of chance, could you be rational?
I don't know.
Okay, so why should I accept anything you say about the nature of reality as being rational when you're standing on a foundation where you're just assuming that things work a certain way?
Well, I'm not. So you're conditionalizing on the premise that everything is pure chance, right? But I'm not saying that that's the case. So I don't see what you're saying undermines me in any way. Right? Just,
well, your claim,
if nothing existed at all, could you speak? Well, no, probably not, right? But you're not advocating that nothing exists at all. So, so what? I mean, it would be irrelevant to make that argument.
Okay, so your claim to be able to prove things, is it not dependent that nature operates in a regular way?
So the claim that there are a priori deductive proofs, it seems to be independent of whether nature works in an orderly way or not. I don't see how that's. You're not engaging with that.
Could you be in the possession and exercise a rational mind if all events, including your brain states, are not the product of some type of regularity of nature, Alex?
So if that was the case, if it were the case, say, that there was no underlying laws that govern the universe, and everything just happened by chance, right? Then maybe by chance I figure out what the the laws of the universe are. I mean, who knows, right? If everything's complete chance, that could happen. Or are you saying there's a law that forbids that in a world that's pure chance?
No, I'm saying could you be rational in a world where nature didn't operate in a law?
Yeah, maybe I'm rational by chance in that world. Could that not happen?
Can you get closer to your microphone, because it's very difficult to understand you? There's a lot. It's very echoey.
If the world was pure chance, maybe I stumble upon rationality by chance. Could that not happen?
And sure, but why?
Okay, so you can be rational in a world that's pure chance.
Good. Then why should I give any credence to what you're saying or you're thinking? Because how would I be able to differentiate whether you actually stumble on something that's correct or not?
It seems to be your hypothesis that everything is pure chance. I'm not saying that.
No, I didn't make it a hypothesis that it was. I said it could be, right?
Well, I mean.
Or would you like to rule that out?
Could be in what sense? Logically possible?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Is your rational discourse completely dependent that nature operates in a law-like way?
Is rational discourse completely dependent on nature operating in a law-like way? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Is your ability as a human being to think rationally, is it contingent that nature operates in a regular law-like way?
I'm not sure that it is. I think if everything was random, I might still be able to operate rationally by chance.
And you might be able to, but how would you know?
Okay, so I mean, I don't how would I know if everything was totally random and I'd stumbled across rationality by chance?
Yeah, if everything's by chance, are we being rational?
If so, in this hypothesis, everything is totally random, but I've stumbled across rationality by chance. So presumably, I am rational in this hypothesis.
Well, if it's all random, how are you going to know? How are you going to know?
Well, but I'm also rational in this hypothesis, so I could figure it out.
Yeah, but how would you know that if everything's by chance?
Well, I'll come up with a rational proof.
But you see, but coming up, that would be chance too. Everything would be chance.
No, because once I've stumbled across rationality by chance, I now have rationality. So I can.
You have. You see, your thoughts are completely random. You see, you're presupposing the.
They're not random once I've discovered rationality.
No, because every thought, every event occurs by chance.
So you're saying in a world where I don't really have any thought process.
Right. Yeah. Well, in a world where everything is chance, can rationality actually be ongoing?
Okay, so the question just seems to be, in a world where you don't really have any thought processes, could you have thought processes? So obviously
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if all events are caused by chance, can you conduct rational thought?
Well, if that was true, right? Let's just say that that's right.
You're not answering my question, Alex. You're being evasive.
I'm not. Listen, just let me finish the sentence, and then you can decide whether I'm being evasive. Okay? If rationality presupposes regularities, then given my rationality, that indicates that there are regularities.
No,
right?
It doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Well, okay, so rationality doesn't presuppose regularities. Is that what you're saying?
No, because all of your thoughts could be simply random, and it doesn't mean that you're being rational.
If my thoughts were completely random, then we couldn't have this conversation, could we?
Why not?
Well, how could you exchange ideas with me discursively like this if all my thoughts are random?
It's all occurring by chance, Alex.
Well, don't you think that we're exchanging ideas?
It doesn't matter what my worldview is. What matters is your worldview, Alex.
Okay, well, look, if we're having a conversation right now.
You don't accept that it is the case that the Christian God exists, do you, Alex?
Let's come to that question in a moment. Let me just finish this thought.
Do you accept it? Well, you don't. Okay, good. So we're going to set that worldview. We're going to set that worldview. We're going to set that worldview aside. Now, if you're going to come to me, you're presupposing, in order to reason with me, you're presupposing the regularity of nature in order to reason. You're presupposing that there are fundamental laws of logic. Do those things exist, Alex?
The laws of logic?
Yeah. Do they exist?
Which ones?
The law of non-contradiction.
I'm not sure that it does.
Okay, good. Then why should I assume that anything that you say is meaningful if the law of non-contradiction doesn't hold at all times and all places?
Well, why would you think that the law of non-contradiction is a presupposition of me saying something meaningful?
Well, because if the law of non-contradiction doesn't hold at all times in all places, then if I say to you that the ball is in the street, then how would that be meaningful if at the same time and in the same sense the ball is not in the street, could coexist? How would that be meaningful, Alex?
If the law of non-contradiction was false, that just means that something is a contradiction. It doesn't mean that that particular example is a contradiction.
Right, but you see, how would you establish that there are any contradictions, Alex?
Well, okay, so do you know what the liar paradox is?
Yeah, I've heard it before.
Do you want to explain what it is then?
Is that's where the statement where the individual says this statement or everything I say is a lie?
Right. This sentence is false.
Right.
Maybe that's a contradiction.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, so what I'm saying to you is, how are we going to establish when contradictions are valid or are valid or invalid, Alex?
Well, that's a very difficult question, but maybe the liar paradox is a contradiction.
Well, how do I know? How do I know if contradictory states of affairs can coexist? Then how do I know when you're making a statement that it's meaningful, that its negation couldn't coexist?
If I say
what are you going to appeal to? Your sense perception, Alex?
I think you're misunderstanding the role that non-contradiction plays. You don't appeal to it to decide whether or not look, if I say the ball is in the street or whatever your example was, you don't know that it's not also in the street just because you know the law of non-contradiction is true, right? The law of non-contradiction isn't normative, it's descriptive. If there are contradictions, it's false, right? And you lose nothing. You aren't appealing to it. I'll tell you when you appeal to it.
How do you know that contradictory states of affairs can't exist, Alex?
I think maybe they could.
Okay, so it's
how do you know they can't?
How? Because the God of the Bible has revealed that he has constructed a world in such a way that comports with his mind. And
well,
in
how
his
do you know
mind,
that means the law of non-contradiction is true?
Because he is the Lord of non-contradiction. He cannot lie. He cannot speak or utter anything.
Well, listen,
that is a contradiction.
I can lie, and that doesn't mean that the law of non-contradiction is false. Somebody's ability to lie or not doesn't have any.
Well, when I say he cannot lie, that's the starting point where we establish that when God speaks and he creates things, it says that God spoke and he brought everything into existence. That
what do you think the law of non-contradiction is?
You're not letting me finish. The bottom line is this: if a contradiction could possibly coexist with a statement, why would that statement be meaningful, Alex?
If a statement's being meaningful or not is independent of whether the law of non-contradiction is true.
Oh, okay. So a statement can be meaningful if its negation could coexist?
Yeah, if I say P and not P, that's false. It's maybe if the law of non-contradiction is true, it's necessarily false, but it's meaningful.
So if I said to you the ball is in the street, but at the same time and in the same sense, the ball is not in the street, is that meaningful?
It's meaningful because its negation is true. How could its negation be true if it was negating something that was meaningful?
Alex, you're not getting what I'm saying.
No, I don't think you're getting what I'm saying. Can you negate things that are meaningless?
A statement can only be meaningful if its negation cannot be simultaneously true.
I'll challenge you to point any logic textbook anywhere that says that.
Okay, so in other words, if I said to you, the moon is made out of green cheese, but it is also not made out of green cheese. Is that a meaningful statement?
Yeah, of course it is. It's false, so it's meaningful.
No. Why is it false?
Because the state of affairs, it describes an impossible state of affairs.
Here we go. Okay, so Alex, if something is impossible, that means that there is an absolute that cannot be violated, right?
I don't know what that means. An absolute that can't be violated.
Okay, when you say something is impossible, does that mean that there's an absolute that could not be otherwise?
Well, you're just saying the same thing again. I don't understand what you mean by an absolute.
Okay, well, then you tell me what you mean that something is impossible.
It means really, in traditional terms, something being impossible means nothing more than it being contradictory, right?
So, why does that make it impossible?
Well, that's what impossible means.
Are you when you say something is impossible, you saying that it cannot be?
Well, only if so. In classical way of thinking about things, because the law of non-contradiction is true, because you're already starting at that point, then impossible just means.
Well, how do I know the law of non-contradiction is true at all times?
It's a very difficult question. I don't know how you could know that. And if you think that it's true, then let me know how you think it's true.
Okay. So basically, you assume the law of non-contradiction.
No, I don't, because I'm quite happy to consider that maybe the liar sentence is false.
Okay, good. So how do we know when the law of non-contradiction holds and when it doesn't, Alex?
And I don't think there's an easy answer to that question. You seem to want an easy answer.
Okay. But then why would you object to any statement that might seem to be contradicted by another state of affairs?
Well, just because there's one contradiction doesn't mean that there's another one.
You're not answering my question. Why would you object to any statement that I might make that might contradict another state of affairs? Why would you object to that, Alex?
Well, let's just split two things up, right? And the first, you might think that if there was a contradiction, any contradiction, then everything would be contradictory. And I think that that's fallacious. So I wouldn't be able to appeal to that argument.
Well, how can you determine that anything is fallacious, Alex?
Well, it seems
based upon what, Alex? Are there absolute?
If you're not going to let me finish, then I won't be able to explain. Right?
All right. Are there any absolutes that can't be violated, Alex?
What do you mean by an absolute that can't be violated? Well, you're just saying the same thing I told you. I don't know.
Something that cannot be otherwise.
As in,
yeah,
I can't imagine it being otherwise.
Aren't some of the things that you are saying to us here today predicated that there are some absolutes?
The word absolutes, I just don't know what it does in this context. It's just opaque to me. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, Alex, please, seriously, dude.
Well, look, if I said, okay, so there are some transcendental. Do you know what that means? I don't know what that means. People say it.
Okay,
right?
Alex. So you don't know if there's anything that's absolute?
Well, maybe you can just unpack the term absolute for me in
something that cannot be otherwise. Is truth absolute, Alex?
The definition of absolute sounds a lot like the definition for true. Is truth true?
Yeah, absolute.
Is it absolutely true, Alex, that if something is true, it cannot simultaneously be false?
Well, no, because I think the liar paradox.
Could it be true?
The liar paradox could be both. For all I know, it's epistemically possible to me that.
Okay, good. So if you feel that I'm making some type of contradictory statements or expressing contradictory ideas, then what would be your basis of objection? Because it violated the law of non-contradiction?
So, well, the law of non-contradiction, obviously, if the liar paradox is true, isn't a universal truth. It doesn't cover all cases.
Oh, okay. So I'm free to make contradictory statements sometimes.
Please, Darth, please
okay.
let him finish.
Hey, okay. Is this JD?
Yeah. Hey, Antonio.
Okay, you're
Antonio
JD?
and Carlos.
Okay, hold on a second. Well, I'm the moderator in the room. JD, you're a very bad boy, and you misbehave yourself. And if you want me to remove you, Hogtie, I will. Please don't interrupt me. JD. I've told you before, due to your past bad behavior and acting like a little adolescent, you're not welcome in my room. So bye-bye.
Okay, let me make this analogy that might help.
One moment. So Antonio and Carlos said he should be here.
No, wait.
No, JD is not. When I'm a moderator in the room, JD, who is a known clown and troll, is welcome in here. I welcome Alex in here because Alex, being that he teaches philosophy, is highly regarded in these circles. I happen to like Alex very much, and I enjoy listening to very much. JD is a well-known troll. He's not welcome in the room. Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, I do have a question for Alex. I don't want to interrupt, but I do have a question for Alex.
Let me just say this one example just to put it out there. I don't expect Didi's going to accept this idea, right? But if you said that the laws of Newtonian physics were false, say Newton's law of gravity is false, strictly speaking, that's what general relativity says, that it's false. But that doesn't mean that you can't use the Newtonian equation to figure out whether or not you should jump out the window. Right? It's still usable.
Okay, I've just gotten back in.
Okay, we have a new person. Anaya, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hey,
Antonio, Darth muted me for no reason whatsoever. He just says he doesn't like me.
Wait. I gave my controls to both.
Okay. Right, this is what happens. We have the trolls ruining the conversation.
Why do you think I didn't want him in here in the first place?
Yeah, okay. All right. So anyway, Alex, when you say that Newtonian physics, it works, right? Is that what you said?
My analogy wasn't just that it works. My analogy was that there's a sphere, you could say, a sphere in which the Newtonian laws are effectively true, right? Just because they're false in some respect doesn't mean that they're not usable at all.
What do you mean when you say effectively true? You mean there's an appearance of them working? How do you know how anything works, Alex? Are you presupposing that nature operates in some regular way?
So let me interject. JD, can I ask you a favor? Please don't. Okay. Just I got to explain. I'm sorry for interrupting you guys' conversation, but there was a miscommunication in the side chat, which we've reviewed, and it was 100% my fault. It was my understanding it was okay, and then JD did come in and offer that if he wasn't permitted to come in, that he would leave. So I'm going to ask JD, can you just?
It was an honest miscommunication. I don't hold anything over your head about it. I let him stay, and then Didi said he wanted him to go, so he was the mod while I was one of the mods while I was away, so he can't come in.
Yeah.
JD,
so my suggestion.
JD's not going to be tolerated in this room while I'm in here.
So my suggestion, because Antonio has said like he's going to sort of go to DD's.
All right, let's drop it. Okay, let's drop it, Hogtie.
Well,
okay, so Alex, when you say Newtonian physics might work in some ways, are you presupposing that nature works in some regular way?
Newtonian physics is an expression of nature working in a certain way.
How would you know that nature works in a certain way? How do you know that all the events that you experience or see, or for that matter, collective humanity, are not simply the result of chance producing the same types of sequences?
Well, look, when you say, how do you know,
mm-hmm.
What do you mean by know?
How are you able to determine that that's the case?
So knowing means what? Being able to determine that something is the case.
Yeah, Alex, just answer the question.
Well, I mean, there's different concepts of knowledge, so different answers.
Alex, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, I think it's quite a vague question. So, I mean,
Alex, does nature work in some regular way?
I can't prove that to you deductively, no. But
okay, so why should I accept your claim that Newtonian physics works?
Do you only accept things that are proven deductively?
We see. I'm not operating from your worldview.
Well, you just asked me why should you accept it. I mean, if you only
accept your statements.
No, wait. If you only accept things that are deductively proven, you'll never accept anything that's inductively proven. But that's up to you. I mean, is that your stance? In which case, I can't prove that.
I'm asking you to justify your statements from within your worldview. Since you do not start with it is the case that the Christian God exists and that he has constructed the world in a certain way, that the world operates according to his laws, that when you come to me as a skeptic, as an atheist,
listen,
and you say to me that, well, Newtonian physics works in a certain way, how do you know that it works in a certain way, Alex?
I don't know deductively. I have not got deductive certainty.
Oh, okay.
So let me just see if I get your view right, though. So God revealed to you that nature works in an orderly fashion. Is that right?
God's revealed to everybody innately due to the fact that we're made in the image of God.
But what I'm asking about is what it is that he's revealed, right? What it is that he revealed.
Let me give you an example. When God made Adam, within the first few moments of Adam walking around and thinking, he didn't need to learn or to assume that nature operates in a law-like way. The Bible has revealed that God has constructed our mind, being in the image of God, to understand that nature operates in a certain way.
Okay, great. So when Christians endowed with that knowledge find new things out inductively, why is it that they didn't just already know that, given the revelation from God?
Well, because not everything, new things that we learn are not what we would call our base core beliefs about the nature of reality.
Okay, so for instance,
that are an innate endowment, and in the broader sense, a type of revelation.
So not everything is revealed to you, right?
Of course not.
Okay, so let's take the law of gravity then. If you wanted to decide what the law of gravity was, you couldn't appeal to your revelation from God, could you?
No, what we understand is that we can use inductive reasoning based upon the fact that God has revealed that
No. You're missing the point. Which inductive reasoning can you infer that gravity is Newtonian?
I'm not against using inductive reasoning.
Sure, okay, neither am I, but listen, my point is this.
Alex, please don't interrupt me. I'm not opposed to inductive reasoning from within the context of the Christian worldview. But if you're going to appeal to inductive reasoning from outside the Christian worldview, I'm going to say, why should it have any merit? You're not using inductive reasoning from within the Christian worldview. You do not believe that there is an eternal God who has created a regular and orderly existence. But you believe that the world around you operates in some orderly, law-like way, and you're doing so based upon your sense perception and inductive reasoning. Now, could you be wrong about that, Alex?
Yeah, I said before, it's not deductive certainty. Okay.
Okay. Good. So then, why should there be any merit in your conclusions then?
There wouldn't be deductive certainty in them, and if that's what you're looking for, you won't get it. But let me go back to, because you were saying something interesting then, I want to just explore that idea a little bit more. So given that God guarantees that there are uniformities in nature, which is fine, I understand that that's your worldview. My question is, if you're faced with a situation where, like, imagine you've never seen any black swans before. How would you be in a different situation to me when faced with having to decide whether the inference from all swans are white, so all observed swans are white, to all swans are white? How could you know whether that inference was correct or not? I don't see that you could, even given your worldview. Is that right or wrong?
I'm not really understanding your question.
So let's say you're faced with an induction. You have to do an induction. You do them every day anyway, right? When you step out of your door, you wonder whether you're going to get hit by some meteorite or stray car or something, right? You reason that the chances are low, right? But only because they haven't happened before.
In the Christian worldview, we're justified in using inductive reasoning until and then if we see exceptions to those consistencies, because we know, and it's been revealed by the God of creation.
No, you're missing the point, Darth.
Okay, so go ahead. What am I missing?
Look, let's say let's pick an example, right? So let's say it's you opening your door and walking out and hoping that you don't get hit by a car. Right? Maybe you're walking out into the road without looking, but you know that it's a really quiet road and there's never any cars on there. Right? You're basing your assumption that you're not going to get run over because no one's ever got run over there before. You've never seen a car. Let's say you've never seen a car on the road before. Right? Now, even in a Christian worldview, you could be wrong about that. Right? There might just be a car here today anyway. Right? That's true, isn't it?
Yeah, but being hit by a car, the car in and itself would be the product of agency and not solely and only physical necessity, Alex.
But you're missing the point still. The idea is that you can't know in advance for any given induction whether it's going to be successful.
I can know in advance that God has created the world to operate in a regular and law-like way. And when I see a certain number of consistencies, I'm justifying that belief, and until and if I see an inconsistency. Now, but here's the bottom line.
No. You're wrong about
Alex. But here's the bottom line. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether hold on a second. It doesn't matter whether you think that my conclusions are justified, because there is no justification in your worldview.
Well, no, you're dodging now because you were wrong about that.
No, I'm not dodging.
Okay,
what I am doing is I'm coming back to
you're changing the subject.
Okay, you're interrupting me. Well, I'm not changing the subject. No, I'm not changing the subject. The subject was you were trying to justify that you could be rational and that there is a basis for rationality. So obviously, in you speaking to me and analyzing what I'm saying in the Christian worldview, you're presupposing that rational thought can be had, right,Alex? How is rational thought possible in your worldview? Are there absolutes that will guarantee rationality?
Well, look, it's really obvious that you're moving away from the topic that
I'm not moving away. We're going back.
We were talking about you justifying an induction, and now we're not, and that's because you've changed the subject.
Alex, I haven't changed the subject, and we're the only two people. Well, I'm going back to my original questions with.
Yeah, exactly. You're changing the subject back.
No, I'm not changing the subject, Alex.
Okay. Well, look, I'm going to stop now because I've made my point. I'm not going to play again. We talked about that original point. I've exposed that you don't understand this issue with induction.
Okay.
And you,
So,
as
so
soon
in
as
other
I
words,
did, you
so in
changed
other
it
words,
to-
have I, Alex? Let me ask you a question. Have I committed a fallacy in your view?
I think you've not committed a fallacy, but there are other ways that you can show that you don't understand something.
Okay, Alex, are there logical absolutes?
Well, for the fourth umpteen time, I don't know what you mean by absolute.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, in order for you to object into my line of reasoning, mustn't my reasoning violate some standard?
Well, let's look at what you were saying then, and
Are there standards of thought, Alex?
But you don't want to talk about the actual detail of
You're
the
avoiding
issue.
this question, man.
Alex, are there standards of thought that cannot be violated in a rational discussion?
Antonio, who do you think is avoiding Hugh's question?
No, he asked him about standards, and he didn't deal with that question he
So
asked him.
Okay, look, there are
Wow.
lots of different standards for rational
We're
thought.
watching different conversations then.
And what would be a prime standard of thought that you would consider cannot be violated and be rational? Are there any absolute rules of thought, Alex, that can't be violated?
Are there any absolute rules of thought that can't be violated?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but I'm not convinced that there are.
Okay, good. Then if there are no absolute rules of thought, then you have no foundation or basis
That's not what he said.
object to anything that I say.
Yeah, that's not what I said. I mean, I said maybe, and you're going, oh, well, you're affirming
Oh,
it.
okay. Well, Alex, what?
Well, listen, Darth. Look, you really obviously dodged. I mean, I'm happy to talk to you more about the induction problem we were talking about a minute ago. And if you don't want to talk about that, then I'm just going to go off and finish cooking because I don't have to be here talking to you.
I was hoping to ask you a question, though.
No, I appreciate you stopping in. By the way, I've enjoyed every time I've listened to you on Hangouts.
Okay, great. Well, look, I'm happily talk to you again more about that particular issue.
No problem.
But can I ask you have time for one question for me?
You want to ask me a question?
Yeah. Is that okay? If
Okay,
you gotta go, that's fine. I can ask you another time. But
Well, go for it.
so fairly early in the discussion, when you guys were talking about, it seemed to me that foundationalism was kind of where it was initially going. When for the third, when you asked on the third occasion that you asked Darth to provide some justification for his bold claim that he asserts that it's a Christian God that exists and has created the world in such a way that et cetera, et cetera. On the third time that you asked him that same question, were you surprised that he still didn't answer it? Was that, based on your experience, was that an unusual thing?
Well,
wait a minute. Didn't answer what?
Well, so Deity makes this claim that in his view the Christian God exists, and without this statement being true, without the Christian God existing, without the Christian God existing and having created the world in such a way that this regularity exists, or however he chooses to word it, but without that statement being true, there simply is no ability to reason. And Alex had asked him to provide some support for that declaration that there exists no reality.
No, I'm not surprised that wasn't forthcoming because I've never heard anybody offer that argument.
Well, is there a basis, a firm foundation in an alternate reality where we deny the Christian God upon which we can reason? Is there one exist?
You just answer the question instead of
Look, even if let's say that Darth's worldview is correct, right, and that we all have reasoning as a result of that. Well, either there's a proof that the Christian God is the necessary precondition for the intelligibility of everything, or there isn't. I mean, if there is, then let's hear it.
No, you're not understanding. Without the existence of the Christian God, there can be no reasoning.
Okay, so let's assume that the Christian God exists and hear the proof. That
I'm sorry, Alex, go back 2 sentences. Go ahead.
There might not be one. That's possible.
No, I asked him to go back because you interjected. Go back.
The claim is that God is the necessary precondition for the intelligibility of, let's say, human experience, right? That's the presuppositional claim. Well, if God existed, I mean, I'll grant you the sufficiency part of the claim, right? Let's just say that if God existed, then we would have rationality. my question is, let's assume that that's true, right? Now my question is, so we're all Christians, we're all rational, right? Let's just assume that's the case. Now my thought would be, well, how do I know that there's no other way of having rationality? Because the claim, after all, is that it's necessary for the Christian God for there to be rationality. So what's the proof of that? Where's the argument?
Well, the proof is that without God existing, there can be no other proof.
No, that's a statement. That's the claim. I'm asking you to restate
the claim.
Well, yeah, it is a claim, Alex.
Yeah, and what's the proof of the claim?
The proof is without God, there can be no proofs.
No, that's the claim. What's the proof
Right,
of that?
Well, how could you, Alex? Tell me. Let's take a look. Alex, could we know some things in such a way that we couldn't be wrong? If the Christian God exists?
Are you giving me the proof now? Does it consist?
No, I'm asking you a question. I'm trying to answer your question.
Well, no, because a proof isn't a question, right?
Okay, but you see, a proof.
Well, if you don't have it, then
a proof presupposes that there are certain absolutes that would undergird the possibility of proofs, right, Alex?
Okay, well, let's just assume that that's true for the sake of continuing.
Oh, okay, good. So without that, okay, in order to have proofs, you would have to have certain absolutes existing, right, Alex?
Well, let's just keep going. Okay, so let's say that.
Do you agree with that, Alex?
Let's say I do.
All right, good. Well, in the Christian worldview, we are endowed by God's revelation, right? Now, when you deny the Christian God, how do you establish that there are any absolutes anyway for there to be proof?
So this just comes down to, look, on the Christian worldview, we have an account for it. And how do you have an account for it if the Christian worldview is not?
There cannot be independent verification ultimately of anything unless we have an ultimate verifier such as the Christian God.
Well, prove it.
Okay, you see, he has revealed that. But you see, no.
That's not proof, is it? I haven't been. I don't agree.
Here's what you're not understanding. Okay, it's because when God spoke to Eve and he said, "Do not eat of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, lest you will die." Okay. You either had to accept the revelation or you didn't.
Yeah,
when I present to you the revelation of God, God's revelation, the God of the Bible's revelation, is self-attesting, self-authenticating, and self-verifying. If you are asking, let me ask you this, are you asking for independent verification of the revelation of the Christian God, Alex?
No, I was asking you for a proof of a particular claim that you made.
Right, and proof would be a means of verification, right, Alex?
I mean, if you've not got the proof, Darth, then that's fine.
Alex, I asked you a question.
If you asked me a question, like, how do I prove something? And I just continually ask you questions in return. You wouldn't be cool with that. You would not be cool with that, would you?
Alex,
it's not a proof.
Alex,
there's another thought I could add to it.
Hold on a second, Hantai.
Yeah, I can hold on. Yeah,
Alex, if you ask me for a proof or some type of intellectual verification of the revelation of the Christian God, that did not start with the revelation of the, and when I say revelation, I just don't mean it by just the Bible. I'm talking about that knowing something that we cannot be wrong, which is an endowment by God. Okay, so I'm using a broader sense of the term revelation.
I don't think
how do you know that?
Okay, now
how do you know that, Darwin? How do you know that claim you just said? How do you know that?
Hold on a second. Alex, if you were saying prove the revelation of God, do you mean that I start someplace else without first that it is the case that the Christian God exists?
It's not necessary.
Is that what you mean?
Well, you can make those types of arguments.
No, I asked, it was a question, Alex.
I could ask, yeah, sure. Well, I get that it's a question. I asked you a question ages ago that you've not answered.
Are you asking for an independent verification of the revelation of the Christian God other than accepting the revelation as the starting point?
You've said that the answer no. There's another way I can phrase the question that might help. Because you've asked that question
well,
twice.
why don't you let Alex answer for himself, please?
Listen, I have to go now anyway. So. I'm gonna
All
have
right.
to-
Well, Alex, thank you for coming. I know it got a little heated, but I do appreciate you coming by. And even though we don't agree on certain things, I don't disrespect you. I've really enjoyed listening to you on the Hangouts, and I
Okay,
hope
well, we'll
to
talk
listen
again
more.
at some point.
All right. Well, thanks for dropping in. It was good of
Okay.
you to come in.
All right, see you later.
He's a good egg, I think the expression is.
No, Alex is a nice guy. I like Alex. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
That was a great conversation.
There's another way